difference in conformation along the clavicle, you're going to be able to feel it really easily if you're doing it bilaterally. But let's just say that this person has been in a football game or hockey and they have shoulder pads on. You have a choice. You can either cut the binding and pull the pad off, cut the jersey. Clearly, you cannot take them off because you don't want to have to lift your arms up in the air while you take your jersey off and they have a sore shoulder. So what you usually have to do is go in this way and go underneath the pads and the jerseys and slide your hand in this way and start at the sternal notch here, and you're going to feel for the ligamentation and pain spots all the way along. So start here, palpate the sternoclavicular joint, there it is right there, and then I can palpate, just walk my fingers along the clavicle and make sure that the clavicle isn't fractured. And then when I get to the AC joint out here, I can just palpate and ask for it hurts. Before I get there, I would say, am I getting close to where it hurts? And she said yes. Then I could do what's called the piano key sign. Piano key sign, I would just take my fingers and press the clavicle down. Then I press it down and then release it really quickly. Push down and let it go. And what I'm doing at the acromioclavicular joint, when I push the clavicle down, I'm relaxing the ligaments. And then when I let go of it really quickly, the clavicle will pop out and pull the ligaments tight. And if the ligaments have been injured, that will cause a bit of pain. So it's called the piano key sound. And that will tell you whether the problem is actually acromioclavicular joint. And if it's at the sternoclavicular joint or the acromioclavicular joint, then you have a ligament sprain. Okay. If the ligaments are good and there's no pain at the sternoclavicular joint and the acromioclavicular joint, then the only other injury that it could be with respect to the joint is either a subluxation or a dislocation of the shoulder, of the glenohumeral joint. Now, there's a terminology issue here at the shoulder because we can have complete dislocations of the glenohumeral joint. We can also have a complete dislocation of the acromioclavicular joint. All of the ligaments around the AC joint are ruptured. We'll get a complete dislocation of the joint. To differentiate the two sites of injury, typically we call an AC injury a shoulder separation. And we use the word dislocation to refer to the glenohumeral joint. So a shoulder separation is going to be spraining either 1, 2, or 3, grade 1, 2, or 3 of the acromioclavicular joint, and dislocations or subluxations refer to the glenohumeral joint. So the easiest thing for me to check now, I don't have any problems with her ligament. There's no broken clavicle. There's no ligament issues at the AC joint. So the next thing I would check for is a dislocated glenohumeral joint. And really, this is not a big one to figure out. If this is the first time shoulder dislocation, she'll be in a heap of pain, like a lot of pain. It's stringent painful the first time it comes out. But if you just want to make sure about it, then again, you take your finger and slide your finger right down and into her armpit or into the axilla. And you just stick your finger into her axilla right there, and you'll feel the shiny head of the humerus. And that's a stupid term to use, to feel something shiny. But that's exactly the way to describe it when you feel it. It is so smooth and round that it feels shiny. It's amazing how smooth it is. And the head of the humerus will always, not go over this class in a lot more detail, but the two most common positions for the head of the humerus to dislocate are directly down, and it comes to rest under the inferior lip of the glenoid, shoulder posteriorly, but it takes a really hard, direct blow on the front of the humerus to push it out. And glenoid sits on an angle like this. So to get a posterior dislocation, the head of the humerus has to come out and backwards and around in order to dislocate. To go out this way, all it has to do is slide off the face of the glenoid. So it's very easy to get an anterior dislocation. It's very difficult to get it out and around the back. So in either case, whether the head of the humerus has come just underneath the coracoid here or is down lower, when you stick your finger into the armpit, you'll feel the head of the humerus, and then you know what it is. So as soon as you do that, and you feel the head of the humerus, the next thing you should do is take a radial pulse. Because with the head in there, remember the head is now right in the middle of the brachial plexus and brachial plexus and of nerves, and also the major blood vessels that are running down into the arm. And it's extremely possible that you could be compressing the major blood vessels. And if that's the case, the athlete will begin to lose the color, especially in their hand. If you do a capillary refill, you'll notice a retarded refill time in one hand as compared to the image of the side of the body. And if that becomes a big issue, if it looks like it's going to be a while before you can get help, then you need to put some traction on the head. We usually do that by getting a blanket or something and putting a blanket in here and then wrapping her elbow into the waist. And what I'm doing is that, and I use this as a fulcrum, and I just push this part of the arm in, which will lift the head off the blood vessels. That's going to be painful. This is really, really painful injury. So if somebody has a dislocated shoulder, you want to get the paramedics there with nitrous oxide as fast as you can, get some laughing gas in them and quench the pain. But you have to monitor your vital signs to make sure there's no compromised blood flow, otherwise you have a huge problem. But if the head is not in here, if you get your finger into the axilla and you cannot feel the head of the humerus, and believe me, it's really easy to feel, if you can't feel it, then it's possible that the person had a subluxation or it began to dislocate and they did a quick correction on it. The test for a subluxation is, again, an apprehension test. The same, remember the patellar apprehension test for a patellar subluxation. This is a shoulder apprehension test for a shoulder subluxation. And what we're going to do in this test is mimic the mechanism of injury. And always in a shoulder dislocation, the mechanism of injury is going to be the arm is in 90 degrees of abduction and it goes into 90 degrees of external rotation. That's the weak spot in the shoulder. And so what I would do is very slowly just get her to relax and bring her arm as high up towards 90 degrees as I can get. I don't want to cause her a lot of pain. And if she says don't go any further, then I don't go any further. But I abduct it as much as I can, and then very slowly begin to externally rotate her arm. And this is an apprehension test. So as soon as I start doing that, she'll probably come around with the other hand and just go, no, don't. And they'll grab it and stop it from going back because the body will recognize that mechanism. So you're looking for apprehension on the part of the athlete when you do the external rotation part. And they're relaxed. You do it all. And that's about it. It's in terms of ligamentation and disruption of the joints in the shoulder, it's pretty simple. You start at the sternal notch, do the SC joint, the AC joint, finger in the axilla for dislocations, apprehension test for subluxation. It's not that. It's not a ligament. It's not a joint interface problem with the shoulder. It's a muscle deal. And muscle deals